Hi, I'm Micah. So today I'll be talking about why Kibbe doesn't work for black women or any other person of color for that matter. I have covered everything that I wanted to say about the color systems, so let's dive into the body types, the body archetypes, body shapes, and everything that has to do with that. If you're here, you're interested in style, so the first thing that you probably came across with was the body shape. So you have the apples, the rectangles, inverted triangles, hourglasses, and pears. Now, not all of those look the same, of course. There are other things that you want to take into account when you're styling your body. For example, your height, your bone structure, your fat distribution. That's what the Kibbe archetypes, the body essences, and the Yin-Yang styling systems are all about. One of the issues specifically with this one is that there are only pure types. That means that there are no possibilities of you being in between. But it's quite obvious that you can have multiple characteristics from different types. One of the most apparent examples would be when your face and your body don't match the same ID. Many stylists do work with percentages, which is great because we all look different, and that's because he was not the creator of it. There have been multiple stylists with different methods and different interpretations of the way that they do things, and all of them together just expand on the idea. You can be in between types with the body shapes, you can be in between types with the color seasons, so why should your body structure be any different from that? The second reason why I don't use this is the body ID test. Technically, you're not supposed to use this anymore to type yourself, but it was probably the first thing that you found when you were looking into this. If you're someone from African or South Asian descent, then you probably got natural or romantic because it has questions like, do you have curly hair? Do you have full lips? Or do you have a rounded nose? So, most of us have that. And Hispanics, being a mix of pretty much everything, probably encounter the same issues. People that belong to those ethnicities that I just mentioned do tend to have fuller features, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to be a yin type. The third reason is that body shapes become irrelevant. These are two separate systems that I like to use combined. So the difference between them is that body shapes are about visual balance and the Yin-Yang styling systems are about, well, Yin and Yang balance. One of the best ways that you can see why the Yin-Yang part is important is that you might be a pair and then you're going to follow the recommendations for a pair, but maybe your friend is also a pair. And if you wear the same outfit, you're going to notice that you might look completely different. And that would be because your body structures are going to be different. This is why Yin-Yang styling systems are amazing and we love them and they're revolutionary. Well, they're a bit old though, but now they're revolutionary because people started to learn about them. One of the reasons why I do think you need to see them as separate entities at first is that certain body shapes get associated to certain IDs. If you look online, you're probably going to find things like if you're an hourglass, you're aromantic. If you are an inverted triangle, you are a natural. If you're short, you're mean. That's not the way it usually works. Maybe if you think about the stereotypical image of one of those, yes, but not all of us look the same. In theory, if you want to go in depth on how to style yourself, then you need to start looking at your yin-yang lines and your body visual balance as separate entities, and then you're going to combine them. What I love about having to learn about all of these systems is that you can learn a bit about each one of them. That way you can choose which one is the best for you, whether you are an individual wanting to style yourself or if you are a stylist and that's the easiest method for you to apply. In my case, the color system that I used in university didn't really work for me because I have dark skin. So I ended up having to develop my own. I ended up talking to multiple makeup artists painters, designers, just to get a grasp on how color theory worked in regards to darker features and not just the regular color systems that we have worked with previously. If you want to learn more about that, you should go to thetheoryofbrown.com, and if you want to hire me as your stylist, then you can go to cocostyling.com. The point is that the same goes for body systems. You get taught a few of them and then you can choose what works for you or combine them all, like I do, and just build on that. The next one is the missing body types, and this one could also be called the Kibbe archetypes versus the John Kitchener essences. With Kitchener, we have the ingenue and the angelic essences, as well as the other types. But these ones don't exist in Kibbe. In some of my previous videos, I did say ingenuine, because in Spanish, it's ingenua. So, as far as I know, the angelic or ethereal type is just under Kitchener. With the ingenue is that the creator herself, Harriet McDimmsey, described her as a very young and child-looking woman. But this is not an insult, this is not being dismissive, it's because that was what it was. Once you grew out of your teens, you would no longer be an ingenue type, you would most likely turn into a romantic. In the Kibbe system, technically this was replaced by the Sophocamines. They have more or less the same youthful essence because of the juxtaposition of the yin and yang lines in their features, instead of that being because they are actual children. They look like grown people. They just look very young. One of the things that I really love about Kitchener is that he combines his essences, and you can be a blend between any of the 7 essences. When you have multiple systems is when you start to notice that everything that has to do with design, style, and the way that things look is completely subjective. Like people being sorted into different families in different systems. I guess the most obvious one would be some of the poster children of X type not actually meeting the criteria to be that type. So the rules are not set in stone. Let's talk about tall people. So there are 5 families and each one of them has 2 types. If you are average in height or even shorter, you can be any of those types. But if you're tall, then you can only be 3 of them. The idea behind that is that if you're very tall, that's going to be your main feature. So you can only be one of the 3 types. At least in this system, some of the verified people have been sorted into an ID and they don't actually meet the height criteria for it, with the premise that they're lying about their height, but in reality, in real life, when you're styling someone, height is not going to be the main aspect all of the time. If you're actually being objective about it, there should be more than 3 types for tall people. That's very limiting, and that's why I think lots of tall people resonate a bit more with the essence system than Kibbe almost automatically, because he does allow being a mix between 2 types. In reality, most styling systems, whether it's body, style, or color, they are created with a certain sample in mind. And I wouldn't say that's wrong, but the issue is that we get lazy when it comes to the other types. So with tall people, it would be the same as with colors on darker features. Is it really that they can only be this type, or is it that no one has bothered to actually analyze them and how they also vary a lot, just like everyone else? Here are some alternative systems and each one of them has a different approach. You can choose the one that is clear to you. First, we have Belle Northrop. She introduced the Yin-Yang concept to style. She talks about physical features and how you should dress for them. She also assigns vibes or personality traits to those types. That's also where the essences come from. She did make a very important note that we always have to remind ourselves of, and it's that we shouldn't see yin or yang as positive or negative. They just are, and they're different from each other. That's it. But everyone wants what they don't have, so the grass is greener on the other side. The thing is that we have to work with what we have, and that's also the reason why the Yin-Yang style systems are so great. They talk about each type and how each one of them is special and how you can dress for it. Then we have Harriet McGimsey, and she talks about going a step further than just dressing for your body shape and your body type. She also encourages us to look at different people just so that we get familiar with how yin and yang lines can look. She introduced the 6 archetypes, so we have the dramatics, athletics, which are now naturals, the romantics, the classics, the gamins, and the ingenues. She talks about the different features of each one of the types and how you should dress in a way that mimics your body lines. In her system, dramatics and athletics or naturals are yang, then romantics and classics are intermediate, and then the gamins and the ingenues are the yin types. Gamins and ingenues look very young, that's why they are considered a yin type. Gamins were the youthful version of the yang types, and the ingenues were the youthful version of the yin types. What we use today changes a bit, with dramatics and naturals being the yang types, classics being the intermediate type, romantics being the yin type, and gamins being a mix. The ingenue was dropped from most systems. Another very important point is that she talked about your style being different from your body archetype. That means that even if you're a dramatic, you can dress in a romantic style. The only thing that you need to consider is that the pieces that you choose do have to mimic your lines. In her system, we also have the composite types, which are a mix between the archetypes. Then we have John Kitchener, which I mentioned before. He introduced the style essence system and he created a new type, the ethereal or angelic essence. Another thing that should be mentioned is that he combines color analysis with his style essences. If you have seen my video on what I think about Kibbe, then you know that I like multiple things about his work, mainly that this one's about what suits your natural body instead of trying to mimic or create the illusion of having another one. And I think that's very important, because body types, it shouldn't be that way, but they come in and out of style. So it's better to know what's going to happen if you wear a certain item instead of just telling you wear this. The overall reason why I don't think most of the Yin-Yang styling systems as they are don't work is because certain features present themselves more often in different ethnicities, and that doesn't always translate well into the archetypes that have been described. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can come back in a few days and learn about how yin and yang look in people of color. And you should visit my new project called The Theory of Brown, where eventually you're going to learn about all of the style systems that I use and the ones that I have developed. That was it for today, and let me know if you like using these systems or if you don't. And if this was the first time learning about this, what do you think? And if you want me to help you with your style journey, then you can hire me as your personal stylist at cocostyling.com. Bye!